Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, September 18th. Investors are in a holding pattern this morning as they await the latest from the Fed with a decision on a possible rate cut due out later this afternoon. Today's moves follow a mixed but ultimately muted day on Wall Street yesterday. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 both were able to hang on to green, but down from earlier session highs. The NASDAQ added 35 points or 0.2%. The S&P 500 slipping from a record intraday high, picked up just 1 point or 0.03%. The Dow gave up 15 points or 0.04%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Well, it's a big day full of anticipation, that's for sure. Well, we're looking at the S&Ps this morning, and we're flat. We're at 0.00. I mean, we were ticking a little higher, we were ticking a little lower, but now we're at 0.00. There, it's essentially unchanged. Listen, the Fed announcements today, that's going to be the big one. The size of the rate cut, that's going to be, the key news. The dot plot, that's going to be, widely looked at, and as well as Powell's press conference. This is what's going to be in focus all day today, and it's going to be coming out this afternoon. There's additional monetary policy meetings going on this week as well, because on Thursday we get the Bank of England, and then on Friday we get the Bank of Japan. Bank of Japan's neither one of them is actually likely to, lower rates, or with Bank of Japan's case, it's raise rates. But I don't think we're going to see any monetary policy changes with those two central banks. The Biden administration, hey, they're moving forward with that tariff plan, on shipments that are valued under $800, which is how China gets, a lot of their goods in without being subjected to tariffs. They put in boxcars that they say are valued at under $800, so it doesn't get hit with a tariff. The Biden administration is stepping up and they're saying, no, a tariff is a tariff is a tariff. You're going to have to pay for it. What else do we have happening today? The CrowdStrike. This is interesting. CrowdStrike, ticker CRWD. We know all the issues that they had with their software blow up last month. But CrowdStrike is holding an investors briefing today, and guess what time they're having it? They're having it at 2 p.m., the same time as the Fed announcement. I find that curious. I see that the SEC is going to allow exchanges to quote in sub-penny prices in order to boost competition. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm not a big fan of this payment for order flow, I got to tell you. But it's here, it's staying, it's not going away. Let's take a look at what's going on overseas. We're keeping an eye on the European action this morning, and the European markets are trading a little lower. Not significantly. I mean, the DAX is lower by 6 points or 0.03%. The CAC in Paris is down 33 points or 0.45%. The FTSE's down 48 points or 0.58%. What's causing it? Well, UK inflation data came in line with expectations at 2.2%. And they do have a Bank of England monetary policy meeting, but realistically, the focus in Europe is really on the Fed today and the policy statement from the Fed members in Jerome Powell's press conference. We're taking a look at Asia last night. Asia for the most part did show gains. I mean, the Nikkei was up 176 points or 0.49%. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng was closed for a holiday. Shanghai in China was up 13 points or 0.49%. China Central Bank, their loan prime rate decision is due out on Friday. Japan, their exports increased less than expected in August, while imports rose the least amount in 5 months. So that's kind of positive, and that's why you saw a little slight gain in the Nikkei this morning, or overnight, 0.49%. Let's take now a look at oil. Oil is falling. We got oil down about three quarters of 1%. WTI is at $70.65 a barrel. Brent is at $73.15 a barrel. Now the API data came out last night. Now it showed a build in stockpiles of 1.96 million barrels last week. That's really surprising. Remember, these are the estimates. The official data comes out this morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's really surprising because of Hurricane Francine, which, did cause a lot of the offshore programs, the offshore wells in the Gulf of Mexico, to remove, employees off of those oil structures. So, oil did kind of, hit a little bit of a snarl last week, but the build was, but a build was really surprising because nobody expected that. And also yesterday there was this chatter about exploding pagers with Hezbollah, which kind of, caused, concerns of Middle East tensions increasing. I mean, Hezbollah uses pagers, really? I mean, think about it. That's 1980, 1990 technology, and they're using pagers because they know that, governments can, tap into what your phone conversations. Well, if they can tap into your phone conversations, trust me, they can tap into your, pagers. But apparently, a couple thousand pagers blew up and, 9 people died as a result. But they're all members of Hezbollah, and Israel is thought to be behind it, but, you don't know. But they're using pagers. That's why it just seems a little odd to me that you'd be using such outdated technology, especially in the Middle East where, they don't have the phone line, so everybody does use the cell phones. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, there is little doubt here that the main focus today is the Fed, but you're not missing a beat on any other market moving information as well. Of course, keeping track of that, but you're still diving into the details of other types of news today. So we will follow all of that right here on today's show. We're going to get first to earnings action before we take a double click on those economic events. So Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings?
We're talking General Mills, ticker GIS. They released this morning. Grace India Sam, they beat by a penny. They did it on higher revenue, but the guidance wasn't great. The stock's down 1.95%. I really didn't like the option volume going into this report. I mean, when you have the put activity elevated over the call activity, that's a warning sign. It doesn't mean that they're gonna miss, but it definitely is a warning sign. Upcoming, steel case reporting this afternoon. Their EPS is 37 cents. Expected move is 11.24%. That's ticker Sam Charlie Sam. FDS FactSet Research System Frank David Sam. They're going to be releasing tomorrow morning. The EPS is $3.61. Expected move is 5.07%. Darden Restaurants ticker DRI David Richard India. They're going to be releasing tomorrow morning. Their EPS is $1.83. Expected move is 4.58% when they release tomorrow morning, Emily.
Now we're going to turn to the economic events. Again, the latest from the Fed as the big headline here, but certainly other things to be watching. So Bill, give us a full rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Yeah, it's not the only story in town, the Fed news. I mean, this morning at 8:30 a.m., we get housing starts and building permits. 9:15, we get the Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations. At 10:30, we get the EIA oil stockpiles report. And then at 2 p.m., we get the FOMC announcement. Then at 2:30, we're going to be hearing from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell as he does his press conference. Yeah, listen, the media outlets are pushing forward this narrative of a 50 basis point cut by the Fed this afternoon. But, if you look at the communication from the FOMC officials over the past, 6 weeks or so, they've provided little indication as to the size of the cut that's expected this afternoon. They say there's going to be a cut, but they don't give any, indication about the size. And, unless there's some sort of real need for it, 50 basis point cut seems a little bit high to me. I could see 25, but 50 seems, kind of difficult. Although I will say that the CME's Fed tool, has over a 60% chance that we're going to get a 50 basis point cut this afternoon. I think there's going to be a lot of attention paid to the dot plot. Remember, the last one came out in June, and they said only one rate cut between now and the end of the year. Now it looks like there could be 3 rate cuts between now and the end of the year. And then, of course, there's Powell's press conference. He's going to be very dovish. He's going to, get hit with a lot of questions on employment data, and he's going to have to stand there and talk about it and watch. The Fed's narrative is really going to be switching from fighting inflation to employment data. So, we're going to keep that in mind when Powell starts to speak this afternoon at 2:30 p.m., Emily.
And Bill, you're going to have all of that information in real time as it comes out, both the announcement and you're going to be able to follow any commentary following, which again can be the bigger market mover. And You're able to do all of this using your NewsWare. You have your economic alerts, you have your earnings alerts, you have alerts for Fed speak. You also have alerts for other types of data and information, news coming out of different sectors and segments, merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings. You're able to track trends on any given trading day, one as headline focused as this or any other trading day, grouping stocks together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 14 higher, 12 lower, the rest unchanged. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing some, Apple's flat, it's down a penny. Netflix is, down slightly, but everything else is trading higher. So I do think we're going to see like a little bit of a move higher this morning. I don't think we're going to have a significant rally because we get the Fed announcement, and that's what everyone's paying attention to. So, don't be surprised if the S&P's ebb between, gains and losses throughout the day. But we're talking about some of the news behind the tape this morning, like Apple. JP Morgan is in talks with Apple to take over the credit card business from Goldman. Remember, Barclays is in this deal too. Barclays does a good job with their credit cards, but JP Morgan does a fine job too. So, JP Morgan or Barclays is likely going to take that business away from Goldman. Google, they won an appeals case, against the European Union, $1.5 billion fine that they issued to them recently on, being anti-competitive. Facebook, Meta Platforms. Listen, they have that Meta Connect event that starts next week that you got to keep in the back of your mind. It starts next Wednesday, and that's when you're going to see some positive announcements start coming in Tuesday and Wednesday in Meta. So you want to, if there's some weakness, it's something to keep an eye on, ticker META. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. We're talking Microsoft. Microsoft and BlackRock plan a $30 billion AI infrastructure fund. Boeing, BA. This is interesting. The strike talks are set to resume today, and they're going to be held in the presence of federal mediators. Now, yesterday, the talks went on, and Boeing's union was saying, the management of Boeing, they weren't prepared to discuss, our requirements. Well, I don't think that's true, because last week I was thinking, what I was reading was really pointing to that Boeing wants to settle this thing and settle it quickly and move on to making planes. So I think that's more posturing than anything else, but I do, I'm watching Boeing. It's trading a little higher this morning. It's up 0.2%. This strike could get settled quickly. So, that would be a positive for shares of Boeing, ticker BA, boy, Apple. What else? We got Salesforce, ticker CRM. Salesforce and NVIDIA forge strategic collaboration to advance AI agent innovations. We're talking merger deals. We got to talk Smartsheet, S&amp, Sam, Michael, Apple, Richard. Now, the deal is said to be at $56. Now, I don't mind being long under 51, but I'm not going to be buying the stock unless it hits underneath $51 a share. Because that would make sense to me, because, with the buyout price being at 56, you think 10% under, that's what it would run up to. So it would be holding at 51, so you really want to get in 10% under the buyout price, which would be 51. So you want to get in under 51. Now, I think that announcement is being delayed because of they're waiting on the Fed decision where rates will be dropping a little bit and they can borrow the money a little cheaper. So, S&amp probably will happen after the Fed announcement. So it could happen tomorrow, could happen Thursday. We're talking ALK, Alaska Air Transportation Department. They approved the Alaska Air Hawaiian Air merger. That's positive for both stocks. We're talking guidance. STLD, they came out again today and they said, hey, Q3 EPS, we expect it to be $1.94 to $1.98, with the street estimate was $2.10. They released this earlier this week, so they re-released it again today, in which I didn't see need for doing that, but they did. General Mills, ticker GIS, they backed their 2025 adjusted EPS view to down 1% to up 1%. It's a softball. Electronic Arts, ticker EA, Elvis Apple. They see full year 2025 net bookings at a high end of 7.3 billion to 7.7 billion. Street estimate is 7.6 billion. Okay, they did say high end. Okay, now we're talking shareholder events going on. I told you about CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike's holding their investors briefing today at 2 p.m. That's very interesting, specifically the timing. HubSpot. ticker HUBS, Henry, Uncle Boy Sam. They're holding an analyst day today. In T-Mobile, ticker TMUS, Tom, Michael, Uncle Sam. They're holding a capital markets day today. Starts at noon. Could be some press releases coming out on TMUS today. Keep an eye out on it. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, these days are always tricky ahead of a Fed announcement to be making a pick, trying to anticipate market moves. But what is your pick of the day today?
Yeah, I mean, you're picking a day where this market could fall apart if they don't like what the Fed says today. It could have some significant movements, but I kind of like Kroger today, KR, Kilo Richard. I mean, listen, that merger deal was approved. Stock's weak, at 55. I think it's got room to run. And now that deal is over, there's, the negativity of the deal not being approved is off the board. So that's good. And I look at yesterday's call volume. 14,851 calls traded yesterday to 3,161. What is that, like 5 to 1? And then you look at the open interest, 237,000 calls versus 59,000 calls. I mean, that's more than 4 to 1. So yeah, I do like it. Major brokers do like the stock. The price target's, around 60, 61, okay, I do like it. But, if I can get in at the $55 level, I think this could be a winner because I do think it has legs to run. So I like Kroger today, ticker KR, Kilo Richard, and that's my pick of the day, Emily.
Kroger it is today. We will follow that along with you. And coming up, we'll do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day, so stick with us. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, we're starting off with ticker LGFA, Larry Grace, Frank Apple. Lionsgate forges generative AI deal with startup Runway, the company said. Lionsgate is going to give them access to their content library. Interesting. CBUS, Charlie Boy, Uncle Sam, Cybus, stocks down 70% after, pricing their stock offering. Stock offerings are never good. General Motors, ticker GM, opening up access to more than 17,800 Tesla superchargers for GM customers. William Blair starts NVIDIA with a buy rating. Let's see what else we got here. Tupperware, ticker TUP, Tom, Uncle Paul. They initiated their Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings. That was totally expected for the last month or so, 2 months. 23andMe, independent directors of the genetic testing firm, said yesterday that they have resigned from the company's board after not receiving a satisfactory take private talk offer from the CEO. Blink Charging laying off 14% of its global workforce. Meta Platforms, a company's facing a hefty fine in the EU over its alleged efforts to dominate the classified ad markets in Europe. Novo Nordisk and Lilly, I mean, those weight loss drugs are likely to be the target of the next Medicare drug pricing talks. And that's what NVO said. So I'll throw Lilly in there as well. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off and anticipate that latest from the Fed and get to trading today, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Palantir. I'll remind listeners that you made this pick following news that Bank of America added the company to its U.S. One list. The inclusion on this list marks the company as one of Bank of America's top investment ideas, highlighting the firm's potential for superior long-term performance. You were hoping that would give the stock a little bit of upward momentum yesterday. How did your call work out?
Well, I made money on it, so it worked out. I mean, but you got to be careful with these, buying stocks when they get upgraded, especially a significant upgrade like added to a U.S. Focus 1 list from B of A. Listen, the stock opened up at 37. Now that's an elevated price. The stock was already up, so I just sit back and I waited. And the stock actually then fell down. To I think it fell down to 35.87. I got in at 36.09. I'll be clear. I got in at 36.09. I ran it to 36.49, a little bit more than 1%. Took my money, walked away. It did trade higher off of that. It went up to 36.80, I think, during the day, but I was happy with 1%, walked away. It's trading a little lower, but I'm still holding, some shares. But, PLTR, Paul, Larry, Tom, Richard, it was a good trade yesterday. It was a good trade. It was a moneymaker. I made money. I sold some, so I have some cushion in there, which is nice. So, I made money. Can't complain. PLTR was a winner for me yesterday, Emily.
A win there, Bill. Again, on that muted day, we will take it. We will check in with you tomorrow about today's Kroger pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonnie, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.